You should need to exfil to get a contract completion because otherwise there's no incentive to exfil. I have like 3 faction missions. I complete them all and then I die. Okay, well, who cares? What did I lose there? I lost my insured slot weapon that I won't get back for 10 hours. So now I have to use a contraband weapon. Let's say I didn't go in with an insured weapon. Well, then in that case, what did I lose? I lost whatever I looted in that match, but the only things you can take out of a match are weapons and a plate carrier, and contraband weapons are abundant. So I have more. So it doesn't matter. Therefore, there is no reason to exfil. If you complete a faction mission and then die, that faction mission should automatically fail. You should have to do it again. Activision devs do not play their own game. It's not your dad. Your dad doesn't support you.
You should know. You worked at a coffee shop, you stupid bitch.
My name is Casey, and absolutely not fucking Tanner, because my parents don't hate me that much.
Hey, did they have just 8 patches lined up, but they just didn't release them because they were on break? No, you moron kids.
Then we'll, of course, get into it. Change your fucking name and get scammed. He's feeling under the weather.
I probably won't say another word until Stay Humble, so have a good pod, Raz. I'll be here listening.
Got it. We are live! So you could type from our YouTube account now. Weren't you not able to do that last time?
No, I just wasn't logged into it.
Oh.
When you were streaming, I just chose not to. No, I could do it.
Oh,
and on Wednesday, I was typing from it when I was streaming.
Okay, good comms. Anyway, we are live. Welcome, boys and girls, to the Dropshot of Call of Duty podcast, episode number 279. My name is Casey, also known as Razinon.
Are you?
I am joined by former Pro Mod,
CDL
COD
Pro,
4,
yeah, CDL Pro.
CDL before the CDL. Was that before the CDL existed?
Yeah,
it was, right?
Because I remember a long time ago we went over this because you didn't believe me, and I pulled up the proof and found it that PC COD lands existed before the first console league in COD history. Because no one believed that I was right.
Believing you, but
you did. You're like, no, you're full of shit. That's not true. And we pulled up, and you're like, oh wow, yeah, it really did. Because it was PC competitive was a thing before console competitive in COD.
That's fake news, plus you're lying, plus we'll edit that out.
Got it.
Plus cool story, bro. Welcome to the show. Today, we are doing an episode about Call of Duty. So if you're new here, by the way, and we gotten a lot of new listeners this month, the analytics are just skyrocketing. And I'm not sure why. I have a couple theories which we can get into on our behind the scenes episode. But if you are new here, let me just remind you, or inform you rather, we have timestamps on every episode so you can skip to whatever content you want. I have gone through the labor of timestamping this episode for you. So if you don't want to listen to our announcements or any particular segment, you can skip it. So just don't get mad if the announcements take 20 minutes and you're like, holy shit, get to the content already. It's your fault. You could have skipped to the content you want. So just keep that in mind, and welcome to the broadcast. Now, with that said, today, Tanner and I are going to talk about the latest event and I wish they had named the event, because this is a problem I've been brushing up against since it happened. I want to refer to the event by something other than the event where a bunch of streamers and influencers flew to California Infinity Ward Studios and did a LAN party for DMZ and Warzone. I don't want to have to say all that every time I refer to this event. So like COD Next, they called it something. That was helpful. That was convenient. So we're going to call it the DMZ reveal event.
The DMZ incident. Troll despair.
The DMZ incident is a great way to to refer to this reveal event. So that is what we're doing today. We're going to talk all about the DMZ reveal event. DMZ, obviously, or maybe not obviously, for those of you who don't know, will be going live in a beta, which we'll get into, on when Season 1 launches next week. Next Wednesday, I believe. Along with Warzone 2, of course, and all the other things we went over on our last episode, 278. So originally, by the way, Tanner and I had planned on talking about the entire reveal event because the first half of the reveal event was them all playing DMZ. Second half was them all playing Warzone 2, but it was like a different build of Warzone 2. Basically, it's the build we're going to be seeing next week.
Absolutely.
Which was quite a bit different and better than the Warzone 2 build we had seen at COD Next. So originally Tanner and I were going to talk about both of those things. However, we're not going to do that after all. We're going to talk about just DMZ today. We might talk a little bit about Warzone tangentially, but it's not going to be a segment like we had originally planned. Reason for that is we are going to be talking about Warzone 2 a fucking lot.
For the next year, yeah.
Yeah, so we don't need to like dedicate much time to it right now because it's going to be, we're going to be covering it extensively in great detail, painstaking detail, really, especially right after it comes out and beyond. So it feels silly to prognosticate on a mode we're going to be playing the fuck out of and having all the answers about in a couple weeks. So with DMZ, on the other hand, we're going to give it a try. I can say that much. But there is no guarantee that we are going to be dedicating a lot of time, effort, or words on DMZ in the future in the same way we will be doing for Warzone 2. So it makes a lot more sense for us to talk about DMZ right now because we almost certainly will not be revisiting this topic nearly as much as we will be Warzone 2. So
yeah, plus
that is
Streets
what we're
coming out
doing
soon, man.
today.
No more DMZ.
Well, you know, another thing too is that DMZ is like a new type of experience. Warzone 2, for all of its distinctions from Warzone 1, we know what it is. It's a battle royale, right? So it's not too crazy. But DMZ is a very new thing. It deserves its own kind of special attention. So that's what we're doing today. So just keep that in mind. There will be plenty of time for us to talk about Warzone 2. We'll talk about it next week. We'll talk about it next Saturday. It's going to be a lot of fun. But in the meantime, we're doing DMZ only today. Now, a couple announcements before we get into the broadcast. Do you not want to mention this? Or what are you... If you don't want to, we can save it, or I guess.
I mean, it's not really a for sure thing, but yeah, you can talk about it, I guess.
Okay, yeah. So, Tanner and I met with our website developers yesterday. Well, we said it to their face in Discord yesterday. Shout out to Huskers for that glorious... Or Nick Merckx? It was Nick Merckx, right? One of those fucking idiots was like, you wouldn't say it to my face in Discord. That was literally verbatim the phrase. Hey,
yeah,
those are
what it was.
That's a contradiction in terms, right? So, anyways, we met in Discord with our website developers, and we were talking about how we've been streaming on YouTube rather than on Twitch, and a lot of boring shit. We'll go into details on that discussion in our behind the scenes episode, patreon.com/thedropshot if you want to hear that. But we are, for the foreseeable future, basically going to be streaming everything full-time on YouTube now. The reception here has been very good. Everything about YouTube is better except for the UI and some other very small things. But the upsides of streaming on YouTube are... they vastly outweigh the downsides as compared to Twitch. So what we've decided to do is start the process of renovating our website a little bit. So soon, and we'll let you guys know, the dropshot.com/live will once again be up and running for the live streams, the podcasts. Currently, it shows our Twitch streams when we're live on Twitch, but it doesn't show our YouTube streams if we're live on YouTube. We are going to add that functionality to our website, so you will once again be able to use our website to watch our YouTube live streams. It is possible that if there's an embed you'll see fewer or no ads, by the way. I think that's how it works for Twitch. If you watch an embedded Twitch stream, you don't get ads. I don't know if that's true. Seems crazy, but it might be. Might be the case for YouTube as well. So there might be an advantage to watching on our website, in fact. But we will be adding that functionality. So you can once again go to thedropshot.com/live. We're going to create a YouTube login through our website so you can chat on our website as well. And then you can just have everything right there at your fingertips. We are very excited about that. But the biggest thing, I think, is that we will be pretty much exclusively streaming on YouTube for the foreseeable future. How we're going to treat Twitch is kind of an open question. I think we will basically everything that we schedule. So if we schedule a gameplay stream, if we schedule a podcast, if we schedule an event, it'll be on YouTube. If we randomly want to do gameplay, we might stream on our Twitch, our personal Twitch. But that's going to be up to Tanner or myself individually at the time. But basically, I think that's how we're going to handle things going forward. We aren't completely done with Twitch. I'm not deleting my Twitch account. But just keep in mind that we're going to be on YouTube quite a bit more. The advantages are just so numerous when compared to Twitch. And for many of you, this is a good thing because Twitch has transcoding. So if you have bad internet, you can watch us live without constant stuttering. It has fewer ads, better revenue split for us,
better
more
quality.
Viewership, way better quality. People who don't normally use Twitch will now not have to go to some website they don't like because everyone uses YouTube. You all have YouTube accounts already. So now you can just, you're already endemic to here. So we're very excited about that. And we hope you guys are too. Very much enjoying it. Become a friend of the pod, which is, of course, a YouTube member. But we'll keep you guys posted on that. This isn't completely finalized, but this is 99% going to be the case. Do you have anything to add on that topic, Tanner?
No.
Okay.
It's been good, though. YouTube's been real good.
Yeah. It's also nice because it's one account. You guys don't have to follow twitch.tv/Razinon and Tanner Dropshot. That shit's kind of cringe and unprofessional looking. I don't like that aspect.
Yeah, we never liked that.
Everything's super. Yeah, we never did.
Yeah. Even back then, we kind of wanted to make one account, but then that would have been like starting over because he already had some followers built up from BO4, so we didn't start from zero.
Right.
So, I'm glad.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyway, we're very excited about that. But yeah, we'll keep you guys posted. Next here is a PSA for every Modern Warfare 2 player of the video game. Exclusive Ace, friend of the pod, has uploaded a YouTube video. By the way, this is how I know we're in the Infinity Ward arc, because I'm getting knowledge about the game not from the developers of the game, but from some guy on YouTube making videos. Shout out to Exclusive Ace, friend of the pod.
Yeah, he's back. The boy is back.
The boy is back. This is exactly what I said, is that him, J-God, True Game Data, maybe, Sim, everyone who's testing shit and giving us information that the game developers should be giving us but are neglecting to because it's Infinity Ward's turn, are back in business, and they are back to being extremely relevant. He has uploaded a video talking specifically, I think, about a couple of attachments. Tanner, you watched this video, and I didn't. What was the topic of the video? Can you tell us about it?
He tested every bullet type in the game, which was interesting. It's something I'd been wanting to use. Because I kept seeing like CDL kids use bullet attachments, and I was wondering, like, I wonder why they're using these, because I really doubt they've done the testing to do this. They've probably just, they're the people that play with something and they're like, oh, this feels a lot better, this is way better, and then they use it. But so he finally put out a test about all the bullet types. Basically, most of them aren't that great. His overall consensus was the cons usually outweigh the pros to the attachments, and they're usually not worth running. He also said that about weapon tuning, by the way. He said weapon tuning for the positives you get, it's usually not even worth it because you get a massive negative downside to it.
Really?
In most regards when it comes to weapon tuning, yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. I need to watch that video.
That's just what he said in this video. I think he has a whole nother weapon. No, he hasn't done a weapon tuning video, I don't think. I believe he said he's going to do one. But so he used one of the rounds, of course, is the bullet velocity rounds. And these were a lot better than I expected. So bullet velocity rounds, I don't know if he tested every category or how that worked, but on average, bullet velocity was increased on that gun by 45 to 50%. That's a massive, massive difference.
That's fucking insane.
Especially when it comes to like single shot guns. Like most of the snipers have good bullet velocity, but even then it's going to be very, very noticeable. Especially good for marksman rifles, battle rifles, ARs at range, etc. So our tip is, we're telling you now instead of waiting until Thursday. When you're going for your long shots for platinum camos, absolutely use the bullet velocity rounds. Jake and Raz had been telling me how fucking awful long shots were with the battle rifles. I was like, all right, I guess I'll get it done with and I'll start using these so I don't have to do them anymore. And I went to ground war and didn't have much trouble. It was less annoying to do the battle rifle category than ARs, probably mostly because there was only 4 rather than 8. But all in all, they took the same amount of time to do. Like the Lockman 7.62, I actually got done way faster than I got any long shots done on my AR. And I think the reason was I was using bullet velocity rounds, and I know Raz never used them. I don't know if Jake did, but this made it pretty damn easy. It just felt like you were using an AR that does more damage to the head and can one-tap to a certain range with a lot better velocity. So, which
is what you would expect. Yeah, exactly.
So this made them much easier. And even right now, I'm using a sniper, the SA50, the SB50. It's like the third sniper over, not the Signal or the first one.
SAB, I think.
Maybe it's the SAB. That gun base has fucking dog shit velocity. So I'm excited to get that attachment for it to see how much
LAB.
How much better that feels, because it feels like dog shit by default. So there's our little tip, especially for long shots, or probably at all if you're playing ground war. Maybe consider using these, because then if your gun's max level, you can also tune it for better damage range. That's what I was doing. I don't know how much of a difference it actually makes. And by the way, the downside for this bullet velocity round is decreased damage range. Smile, it's only by on average 2.5%. That's not ever going to be noticeable almost at all. So this is like the one ammo type that has a very strong pro to it and not much of a downside.
Yeah. So yes, the reason I want to mention this now, I just want to get this out of the way right away, because I had said in a previous episode, like when I was going for battle rifles, I was trying to do long shots in ground war without using the high velocity ammo type. And I was struggle city in ground war. It was so hard. And I specifically talked about it in that episode, how you have to fucking lead shots and shit. I'm almost certain that's because I wasn't using these rounds. And now I'm working on long shots with marksman rifles. And I tried a game of 6s and I was like, God, this is so dog shit. I'm going to fuck it. I'm going to try ground war again. And then I got like 10. And I was like, okay, maybe ground war is better for long shots. Because bullet velocity rounds exist, use them. And then I think ground war is actually going to be the play for long shots for most categories, rather than 6s. So I know I had said just do 6s instead. It's ultimately faster. If you use bullet velocity rounds, I don't think that's true. I think ground war probably would be faster. So if you're going for long shots and you're just only doing 6s and you're getting 3 a game, try ground war again. Make sure you use the velocity rounds. I just wanted to let you guys know about that so that you can get through those long shots quicker if you had taken my advice on that topic. But yeah. And then on exclusive A specifically, again, we're in another Infinity Ward era. You guys absolutely should be subscribed to to Exclusive Ace on YouTube, because he will be putting out videos and information that is relevant and important and that you will not get from Infinity Ward.
Yeah.
We will cover all of his shit that is important, like we used to do back in 2020 when MW19 was the game.
Yeah. Actually, that was the last time we strictly covered information.
Yeah, exactly. So we're going to be going back to that out of necessity. But I would encourage you guys to subscribe to him anyway, show him some love, because he's doing a good service for the community. I'll also add this. I like Exclusive Ace. Seems like a cool guy. Smart guy, for sure. But like anything and like any person, you should take his advice and things he says in some arenas and not in others. So if he uploads a video called the top 5 ARs for Warzone, probably just don't click it. I would not. He's not the guy for that type of input.
He's the multiplayer guy.
He's the multiplayer guy, but even then, he's the testing guy. If he does a test on bullet velocity, it's going to be accurate. The information is going to be accurate. He's very good at that.
Yeah.
But in terms of like what perks you should use, what attachments you should use, there are better options. So just don't trust everything he says. Don't trust anything anyone says, except us, obviously. But his main, I think, benefit to the community is that he's very good at testing things, and the data he provides is very accurate and helpful. That's the primary reason you should use him as a resource. Yeah. You can listen to his opinion and shit if you want, but I've seen him and pretty much every one of the test boys provide opinions on meta guns, meta loadouts that are just outside of this world. Not in a good way. Like, what? Why are you recommending this? This is insane. So just take those things with a grain of salt. But the testing itself, it is super worthwhile. But anyway, just wanted to point that out. Another thing, last little announcement I have here is we have put up our latest Patreon episode. It was for our Platinum and Damascus patrons. And it was our November 2022 Q&A. It was actually a good episode. I enjoyed it. There were quite a few Call of Duty /gaming /FPS questions that were actually pretty good. I was surprised at how much we talked about Call of Duty in that one. And then there were some other, food related ones. Those are always fun. Urban asked exactly one good question, so that was nice to talk about. And it was pretty long too. How long was that up, Tanner? I hadn't
almost
done my
2, I
stopwatch.
think.
Almost 2 hours, 2. Yeah. So we got through quite a few questions. If you're a Platinum or Damascus patron, that is now live. You can go listen to it. And if you're not, I will say this. Tanner and I have a Patreon, patreon.com/thedropshot. It's the best way to support the show. We do 5 bonus eps a month. If you're a patron at any level, you get ad-free episodes, early access episodes, and at least 3 bonus episodes, up to 5, depending on what tier you have. If you're Platinum, you get access to a Q&A episode every month. And how that works is, if you're a Platinum or Damascus patron, you get access to a special channel in our Discord where only you, as a Platinum or Damascus patron, can ask questions. And then Tanner and I, every month, go through, answer those questions, and then release it to only you. So it is a Q&A episode where you guys are the only ones who can ask the questions or hear the answers. So if you wanted to ask us a question, get it answered, hear our thoughts on something, and you want to do it quickly, that's the best way to do it, is to get scammed, of course. Patreon.com/thedropshot. You get other things, other benefits besides just that, but that's one of them. So if you are a Platinum or Damascus patron just because you wanted to support the program and you're like, oh, cool, I should capitalize on this benefit I have, join the Discord, link your Patreon and Discord accounts. There is a channel in Discord called Nude Patron Onboarding with a step-by-step guide on how to do that. Then you'll see the patron Q&A channel. You can ask whatever question you want there. If you can see the channel, you're allowed to ask questions. So that episode's now live. That was fun and exciting. Other than that, anything else, Tanner?
No, if you're here live, MW2 Customs Damascus Hangout tonight, 6 p.m.
That's correct. Yes, 6 p.m. Damascus Hangout. We are doing Modern Warfare 2 Customs. A lot of you guys are very excited for it, as am I. I might plug in the toy Depends how much stick drift I'm willing to fucking tolerate.
Yeah.
And let me ask you controller frogs that are in the chat right now. Every time my stick drifts, it's always to the right. Like it's always in one direction. Is that normally how stick drift manifests? Or is my problem different than stick drift?
I thought that's how it generally was. If you had stick drift, usually it was like one direction or something because it's like the inside is busted or something.
Okay.
But I don't know.
I changed the dead zone, by the way. I put the dead zone to like 0.30 and it's still doing it. And it's like, okay. Well, yeah, it's my shit Amazon controller. I've ordered a new controller. But I was just curious if I am experiencing stick drift or some other problem. Like it could be like my USB-C cable is shit or something. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. If you're listening for the jingle, here it is. Damn it, that was pretty fast.
Zerg, thank you for the CZK42. Don't know how much money that is, but thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Dropshot COD 4 promo tournament prize pool. Yeah, okay, cool. There we go. Oh, see, maybe your dead zone wasn't that high. His dead zone's at 0.9? See?
Well, the max is 0.99. That's as high as you can possibly do it, so that seems crazy. All right! Welcome, boys and girls, to the broadcast. Today, we are talking about DMZ, the Demilitarized Zone. Not the one at the 39th parallel. Is that what it is? What number is that parallel? Let me look it up. Children are fucking so confused right now. Tell me what parallel it's at. I forget from my time in the Corps. I was in Korea, of course, but I forget the numbers. I experienced a lot of shell shock. Yeah, the North Korea one. Good job, Bjorn. All right, welcome to the show. So yeah, today we're going over DMZ. Now, originally, our conception of this episode was we were just going to talk about the DMZ reveal event and talk about what we had seen there, what our thoughts on that were, and any prognostications we have about the mode based on all the information we learned. That is still what we're going to do, but in addition to that, today, in fact, fortuitously, we got a blog post. It is called Warzone 2.0 Launch Update. Welcome to DMZ. So this is a blog post we should have gotten before the DMZ reveal event happened.
Yeah.
And it's insane that we didn't. And by the way, once again, this is something Tanner and I said. Why are we just getting this raw? Like, give us some background before you just show us the game and everyone's confused. Especially if you're not like a Tarkov player or something. You're just like, what the fuck's going on? Why is he looting a light bulb? I'm so lost.
Yeah, that whole event was odd. That one, like, Infinity Ward didn't get up there and, like, say anything, even for, like, 5 to 10 minutes before. They should have, like, threw up a stream and at least, like, explained for a little bit, had something pre-recorded, kind of explained what DMZ is, how it works, instead of just having random Warzone players that are also COD partners just hop in and have them play the game. They were all... Swag, you could tell, hated it, didn't know what was going on, was bored. Most of the Warzone streamers were... Shroud was complaining about the whole mode in general too, but I can't believe they just raw dogged it. They raw dogged the event, man. It was crazy. Yeah, this should have came out like an hour before the event or something. I think they made this blog post, by the way, because of the feedback that they've received on the mode.
I would be very unsurprised if that was true. Yes. So today we're going to start with the blog post. We're going to go through this. It tells us a little more about DMZ. I have not read it. I am also, like Infinity Ward, I am raw dogging this piece of content, as is Tanner, I think. Have you read this?
No, not really.
Okay. And then we're going to get into kind of our original plan. So here we go. Warzone 2.0 launch update. Welcome to DMZ. We're thrilled to have debuted our very first look at DMZ this week with streamers and creators at the iDub studio. Heading into Warzone 2.0 launch week, we wanted to dive a bit deeper, more deeply, learn how to write into this exciting new experience. Billions and billions and billions of dollar company. Cool. Here's what players can expect from DMZ. DMZ is a dangerous, diverse, and deep open world experience where players can choose their level of intensity. Even in its earliest form, the DMZ experience is built for the most hardcore completionists. Okay. With faction missions, contracts, world events, stocking up the stash. Okay. So they're confirming there is a stash. Okay. Which we kind of saw. I mean, calling it a stash is anyway. Helping out other squads or causing chaos, breaking open locked areas, and much more. This living world is planning to conquer on day one. The sandbox mode is where players of all skill levels can choose their own way to play and win. The goal is to loot up and get out alive. It's about exploring an active world of AQ Alcatala, forces and enemy operators, completing missions and objectives, and exfiltrating with loot cache valuables and rewards to build out your inventory for the next infiltration. Set your own stakes and ultimately earn some high tier items for use across the rest of MW2 and Warzone 2. Okay, so let me just read this last little paragraph. While players can choose how and where they engage, all operators must exfil from the Al Mazrah exclusion zone to reap the rewards. Players will ultimately fight for mastery of the mode by discovering all the experiences and rewards it has to offer. While DMZ begins in Al Mazrah, this is an interesting line. While DMZ begins in Al Mazrah, no one quite knows where it may lead. Let me write something down before I forget.
No one quite knows where it may lead. Interesting. Very interesting.
Okay. Okay, so can you pull this up, by the way, these notes?
I could.
Yeah. So far here, this is, I don't know, nothing really, just a little preamble. I have no real issues with most of this. The one thing I will say is that they are implying that exfilling matters rather than dying. I would argue it doesn't, but we'll get into that later on. So stash inventory is the first little header here, or the next one. DMZ involves keeping a stash or inventory of weapons and other valuables from the exclusion zone. Players will start with a small inventory of free contraband weapons. Contraband guns are only usable in DMZ, and if you lose them on the battlefield, they are gone forever. Weapons acquired from other players or enemies on the field are considered contraband after extracting with them. So this is one of the elements that makes this similar to Escape from Tarkov. This is the mode that everyone's been comparing it to. Now that we've seen it, I think it's a fair comparison in some sense, but this is very much unlike Tarkov in many ways. And we told you this was going to happen. So what was I going to say? What the fuck was I going to say?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, here's what I was going to say. One of the things about Tarkov is that it's full loot. So if you die in Tarkov, outside of a very small selection of items, you will lose everything if someone takes it out, including your weapon. Your weapon is, if you have a good weapon and you die in Tarkov, you're
gone.
Not
getting it back. Yeah.
You're not getting
insurance,
that back.
You're not getting it back. Someone's taking it.
Yeah, because someone's going to take it, and then insurance doesn't matter, right? So this is one aspect that is like Tarkov. If I kill someone in Tarkov, I'm taking that weapon. In this game too, if I kill you, another player, and I take your gun and I exfil with it, that gun's gone. It's mine now. Smile. I don't know how insurance works in this game. Let me add that. So there are insured slots on DMZ. And I don't know what that means. So for example, let's say I put my custom AK in my insured slot, and then I load into a match of DMZ, and then I die to Huskers, and then Huskers takes my gun that was in my insured slot and exfils. Well, let me ask this. If it's in my insured slot, can he still loot it?
Yeah, I don't know what that was. I don't know if it showed that ever or not, because I don't know if people ever were able to. I know they were like put on some sort of a countdown, like you wouldn't get it back for like 10 hours. I feel like you would get it back regardless if someone took it or not, though. I feel like that's how this game is going to work.
That seems to be the case, which is dumb. So like in Tarkov, you can insure pretty much anything. You can insure your gun. And if you die and like the guy who killed you dies also, and no one else finds your body, you will get that gun back because no one else took it. But if someone else takes it, then insurance doesn't work.
Oh, it talks about it like 4 lines down. So
okay,
we can just keep reading.
Yeah, let me just keep reading. COD is about customizing weapons, so we still want you to bring those creations into DMZ, whether it's a personal mod or a weapon blueprint. At first, you will have 1 insured weapon slot for any personal loadout weapon or weapon blueprint. Additional insured weapon slots can be earned by leveling up with factions. For those looking for an alternate path to unlocking weapons versus traditional weapon XP through matches, should be excited to plan their infills. Acquiring a contraband weapon will unlock the base weapon and gunsmith. Oh,
yeah, so that's one interesting
multiplayer
thing.
And battle royale. That's pretty cool. So, for example, the TAC-M marksman rifle, to unlock that in multiplayer only, you have to get some assault rifle to level 20 out of like 23 levels. Like, you have to level the fuck out of it. But if I played in DMZ and I got out with a TAC-M, I wouldn't have to get that thing to level 20 at all. I'd just have it right away. That would save you a lot of time. So that's actually fairly interesting. Will it matter for most players by the time DMZ is out? No. But still an interesting little idea.
Yeah.
So next thing here, if you lose an insured weapon, remember that insurance takes time. Unless you're willing to pay the right price, extracted cash and valuables speed up the cooldown on these slots. Okay, so this is what I thought was the case. So if I die with an insured weapon and Huskers takes it, then 10 hours later, I'll get that weapon back and Huskers will still have it in his stash, duplicating the weapon. This is fucking insane if that's how it works, which is what it sounds like. Is that the interpretation you're getting as well?
Correct.
Okay. This is insane, right?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So part of the thing in Tarkov is like the really good players of Escape from Tarkov will almost never insure their items. And the reason they don't
solo. Yeah.
Yeah, if you play solo, which most of them do generally.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is they're going in with really good gear. And if they die, there's never a scenario where all of their shit does not get taken. So if they insure their gear, they're just wasting money on the insurance for items that they'll never get back regardless. So they just don't even bother insuring things. It's like one of the strats in Tarkov is like, if I go in with like kind of a shitty gun, I might insure that because no one wants to pick up this gun.
Yeah.
So I know that even if I die, they're going to leave the gun in the raid and therefore I will get it back in insurance. In this game though, if you insure a gun, you're just guaranteeing it's impossible to lose it. This is dumb.
Again, losing the key factor of risk.
Exactly.
These game modes require risk. That is not anything risky at all. And then people are making this sound like, unless we're misunderstanding something, I saw people saying things like, this is like a big deal because you may not get your gun back for 10 hours. Okay.
That's not a
I'll
big deal.
go into a raid and find one of the 800 on all the AI on the map and use theirs for that raid if I really don't have anything else, man. Exactly. That is... I mean, it's very obvious to see who has played these type of modes and who has not based on like what they say about it. That does not make you like worried about losing anything. That does not instill any sort of like fear of dying, which is what a mode like this usually needs.
That's absolutely what it needs. And we'll get into that more, but let's continue on here. Let's trudge along. Okay. Your stash also contains certain items taken out of the exclusion zone, which can then be put into your loadout and backpack for your next infiltration and give you access to special locations. So, I don't know why they phrased this way. The certain items that give you access to special locations are keys. So, this is a weird way to phrase that, but there you go. If your backpack fills up during a match, operators can visit one of 6 dead drop locations to stash items for extraction in a later match. That's actually pretty cool. That's a cute little feature.
That's interesting. You can like hide it away basically. But then, so, I mean, like, what's the point of that again? So I'm trying to think. This is kind of hard to understand how this would work until we played the game for a little bit. Because it's like, I'm trying to think like, okay, so maybe you have enough valuables in one raid. Like you got, your backpack is full of like the most expensive items and you find another one. Maybe you're like, oh, I'm going to go to this dead drop and put like one of these or some of these expensive items in here now. And then since I already found other expensive ones, then I'm going to go back and grab those and try to extract with those so I can get like more or something. I don't know. But again,
I think the idea is like, so let's say you have a bunch of good shit and you've been in the raid for a long time, so the circle's pretty small. And you know that the only exfil left in the zone is being camped. And you're like, I'm probably going to die going to this exfil. I'm just going to stash everything, try and get out. And if I die, then in the next raid, I can go to this dead drop again, get all my shit, and exfil sooner, more safely, in a less risky way. I think that's the idea.
Okay, yeah.
So on the one hand, it's a cute idea. I like how creative it is. On the other hand, though, and again, like Tanner just said, once we play, we'll have way more concrete opinions on all of this. On the other hand, again, it's just making the game less risky and therefore less fun. Because one of the only reasons a game like Tarkov is really fun and exciting is that there's like high risk always.
Always.
Like if I find a bunch of good items in a Tarkov raid, there's no safety net. The only possible way I get those items is fucking getting out of the raid. There's no like, oh, I'm going to stash them in a hole and then I'll get them in a raid later when I 6-stack or something. Like, you can't do that.
Yeah.
You're just fucked. Get out or not, or you don't get the items. It's that simple. But this is just like another little safety net, which maybe the dead drops are super camped. I don't know. We'll have to play, but it's on the one hand, I like it. It's cute. On the other hand, it's another safety net that I think this game has enough safety nets already. And I think that's just kind of adding to it. Kind of like adding redeploy tokens to Warzone, for example.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I forgot what I was also going to say. But yeah, it just, again, comes down to no risk factor. If there's no risk, then a mode like this is just a shitty side mode as part of Warzone. It's like, why, it's like Warzone also has an end. So this game has an end goal of extracting or losing almost nothing, losing a gun and then gaining nothing when you extract with it. Playing Warzone also has no meaning other than just winning the game and winning. So it's like I'm just not understanding any of it. I don't know. It's just it's DMZ is missing the only thing. Like DMZ is missing something outside of the game. That's what makes a game like this a game like this. Like even the Division has shit like that, where you can craft stuff in safe zones and then use better gear. This just has nothing. It's like you extract and then. So they say one thing here, by the way. Where was it? Extracted cash and valuables speed up the cooldown. That's because, if I'm not mistaken, the cash and valuables have no other use to them. They don't do anything for you because there's no outside inventory of the game, right? So it's like those valuables, you extracted with it, and all that does is give you more XP maybe because you extract with them and then lower your cooldown for your weapon.
I'm not sure.
It's like there's zero risk there. It's so weird.
Right.
It's just like an empty game mode.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll get more into that, but I agree, of course. So here we go. Next header, infill loadouts and missions. So one thing, I'll say this before we continue actually on the blog post. The biggest question I had watching the DMZ reveal event was about how precisely the mission thing worked. Because, well, let me just say, I didn't understand how the missions worked. I didn't know if everyone had the same set of missions. I didn't know if they got progressively harder as you completed them. I didn't know if they got more challenging or more risky or whatever. I was unclear if it was like a daily challenge set, like you get in multiplayer where everyone has different daily challenges and they're basically random, or if everyone was on the same track and they got harder and the rewards got better and more interesting and worth going for. I don't know. Maybe we will learn here, because if it is the case that the missions are all on the same track, they get harder, and the rewards get more enticing, that could save this mode for me in some sense. But let's find out maybe if that's true, if they're going to tell us here, because I was not clear on how missions worked, what they entailed, or what the benefits of doing them were.
Yeah.
So, here they say, DMZ is a trios-based mode with the option to play as a solo or duo by disabling squad fill. We recommend you start with trios, as the Al Mazrah exclusion zone is a dangerous place. To teach you how to play and give you those first rewards of DMZ, you accept faction missions. I need to write another little note down here before I forget. Okay, there we go. To teach you how to play and give you those first rewards of DMZ, you accept faction missions. These are from our world's most powerful PMC groups, private military contractor groups. The Legion, White Lotus, and Black
how do you say that? Mouse? Is that some sort of mouse? Mouse? Black moose?
Is it like a French word? What the fuck? I have never seen this word before.
God damn it, Teddy. This guy's fucking biting my foot. You son of a bitch.
The plural of MOU? Hold on. I don't know what this word is. I can't even find it on Google. It's not a word.
Yeah, they made it up.
Yeah. And Black Mouse, I guess. Maybe they just forgot an E. With the Legion being your starting faction and the other two unlocked by completing other factions missions. By completing a certain number of faction missions, you can advance up a faction's mission tiers. Okay, so it does sound like a track. These missions offer significant challenges coupled with significant unique rewards. Players will infiltrate the exclusion zone with their chosen loadout, insured or contraband. Or they can bring nothing at all. Sometimes all it takes is a pair of fists and a dream. The exact point of infiltration is random every time, ensuring that no two DMZ matches will be the same. So they don't mean the point is in the reason. They mean the point is in the location, by the way. Yeah. Because you might be thinking the point is random, and you might be onto something, but they mean the geographical point. To get more... Oh, fuck. Hold on. Okay, that was random. To get more items, players will have to extract them out of the exclusion zone with their backpack. This will provide an experience for players to complete a supply run, as an example, in which players can complete a run just to gear up for a future deployment. In addition to the backpack, players can exfil from the world with on-soldier items, including backpacks, self-reses, plate carriers, etc. It's critical for players looking to engage with high-tier enemies early in a match. Their next infill. Mm-hmm. Okay. That makes sense.
So, in your loadout selection, then, you will be able to like load into a raid with a self-revive or things like that you found in a prior raid.
And like a plate carrier. Yeah.
This is making it sound like there should be some sort of like inventory system. It's like, where is all that stored? Huh.
It seems to, based on what we saw, it seems like it's just stored on your character. So it's like, yeah, you can extract with a level, like with a plate, like with a vest, with a armor plate carrier. But if you have an armor plate carrier and then you find another one, you can't like take that out and then store the other armor plate carrier in your stash. Maybe you can. I don't know. But it didn't really look like you could.
I don't.
But maybe you can.
I think you're right about it's just certain things. Then it's like if you get like the two plate armor, then you do go into the next raid with that if you don't die. Because it does say, I missed this part, early in a match, their next infill. So it does specifically say their next infill, meaning, yeah, it's just things like that that are already on your character that then you're not going to lose. But that doesn't include like other random items then, yeah. Okay. So, yeah. So it's not like you can just stash that away somewhere and be like, I don't want to use my 2 armor or 3 armor plate this next raid. I'll use it a different raid. You can't. You just have to use it that next raid because it's already on your character and you can't edit that, I believe.
That's the impression I get.
Okay.
We are not 100% sure on that, but that's the impression we get. If that's true, dog shit.
Yeah, because it says, this will provide an experience for players to complete a supply run, as an example, in which players can complete a run just to gear up for future deployment. Why? If it's that easy to just go in and get a 2 armor plate, why do I need to do a DMZ run just to then gear up for the next? Like, huh? With this whole thing, I just feel like we're missing a major aspect. And I still am wondering if it's coming and they're just not explaining it or doing a terrible job of explaining this.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very weird.
None of this makes sense the more I read this blog post.
I know. Yeah, and by the way, we should have said this at the outset. We will be way more clear on how exactly DMZ works, and we will revisit this topic for sure at some time, and explain precisely how everything functions and if it's fun or not. Or
I honestly want to play, I think, DMZ before Warzone to try to understand it, because Warzone we know is going to be Warzone. We know what it's going to be mostly. But yeah, DMZ, I feel like there's a ton missing. I don't know.
Yeah. So so take everything we're saying here with a grain of salt. Once we play it more, we'll have way more information and we'll have our opinions more kind of rigid. So within the exclusion zone, we're not gonna continue reading this verbatim here. I'm gonna kind of read through. If anything pops out to you, Tanner, tell me or just mention it. But here we go. Yeah. So you can do contracts.
So that's what we saw in the leaks, such as activating the SAM turret, UAV towers, taking down a high-value target. Those were the leaks. So those were not like missions. Those were not faction missions. Those are just contracts, basically, inside the game.
Specifically in Raid. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That's what we saw in whoever wrote that.
Yeah, so you can imagine in DMZ, you're going to pick up a mission before you load in that says, like, whatever.
Go to this area.
Go to this area and open this thing and extract with it. But you can, in addition to that, you can get contracts within the game. So it's like you pick up a contract, you do it, you get some money, you get some loot, and then you can extract with that loot. But that is distinct from a faction mission. So these are like less important. But there you go, those exist. We saw some of them. There you go. Yeah, and then there's the looting shit that we saw at COD Next. It's the same in DMZ. If you loot a medical cabinet, you can expect to find like stims and other medical items, bandages. And bandages are not used to heal yourself. They're just
an item to sell for cash. Yeah, got it.
Which is dumb. But anyway,
police or military stations can contain more tactical gear. That'll be a thing for Warzone and DMZ. So there's a day one tip. Go to police stations or military outposts if you want better gear.
Yes, correct. Like if you want like a plate carrier, that's a good place to look.
Yeah.
And then there are also some restricted areas, some locked doors. And there are also keys to open the doors. So you can loot keys in this game, like Tarkov. And in this game, it'll tell you what sector that door is that the key unlocks. And they have limited uses. So one of the keys, like Dr. Lupo looted, he looted it in a chest or something, and it had 2 uses. So he's able to use it twice before it disappeared.
Oh, I didn't notice that, really.
Yes, and it opens some door somewhere. So, yeah. So what was cool, and I actually kind of liked this, because I think there are some aspects of Tarkov that are frankly too hardcore. One of them is I shouldn't have to use a third-party website to know where these exfils are. Like, it's dumb. Like, where is Road to Customs? Like, if you just, like, try and play Tarkov only, you'll never find it. You'll never find it. Like, it's dumb. So, this is one aspect I actually do kind of like. when you loot a key, it'll say located in C6. And if you open your map, it's a grid view. And there's, the y-axis is letters, x-axis is numbers, C6. You figure it out. It's like, okay, cool. The door's there. So there are locked doors and areas. And then in these areas, there are usually really strong enemies, which we'll get into, and like better loot. So those exist as well. Al-Mazrah will not have a circle collapse, but players will need to monitor radiation as well as the occasional sandstorm. We don't yet know what is causing these, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so the play space does shrink still, like in Warzone, but it does not shrink from the outside in only, because there are also radiation pockets inside. So you could be like, like on opposite sides of a circle or whatever. I was fine
were there?
With this.
I thought it was just one big zone that kept expanding. Were there pockets? Okay.
I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't think there were. I think it's possible, though.
It sounds like it could be possible, yeah.
Yeah, that's the
I'm not sure.
But
this kind of seems unnecessary. I think I'd rather have the whole map accessible the entire time, because again, this is just something now that makes it feel more like Warzone and not its own game mode. I think the entire map should be accessible the whole time, and I think that would slow this down a little bit too, to actually like differentiate it from Warzone more than it currently seems to be. I think you should be able to play at your own pace, have more extractions maybe, because what we saw so far was just a bunch of people fighting at the extractions and nothing else pretty much. I mean, the game will change a lot once people figure out the map and stuff, but I don't know, it's just I feel like it's unnecessary to have the radiation zone come in. I think the whole map should be accessible.
Yeah, it was something, but anyway. Again, there's no definitive objective or path to victory in DMZ, blah, blah, blah. So here are plenty of rewards for your efforts, for doing contracts, for doing faction missions. Here are some examples they list. Double XP tokens. Largely don't care. Certainly won't care in a month. Calling cards. Probably won't care. Weapon charms. Won't care. And other cosmetics could maybe care if they're very good.
Operator skins and weapon blueprints would be the only thing I would care about.
Exactly. So maybe, possibly, I would care. And finally, the ultimate reward, the M13B AR. This functional weapon is part of the Bruin Ops platform, along with the Boss P SMG, which can be yours to use across all of MW2 or Warzone 2.0 map modes. So that's interesting. So I guess one of the challenges to unlock the M13B is going to be playing DMZ.
Yeah, so there's been a lot of people talking about this, saying the only way you can get the M13 is through DMZ. I don't think that's going to be the only way.
That's not even what the
That's not what it says, and that's what no. So I think you can unlock it through DMZ. There's no way MW2 multiplayer players will have to play DMZ just to unlock this gun. It's not going to be that way. And people are wiling on the TL saying, oh, you're going to have to get the M13 through DMZ. No, you won't. You absolutely will not have to do that. There will be some sort of other unlock in multiplayer as well.
Yeah,
no
in the last
no
blog
shot.
post,
use your brain.
Yeah, and they even said as much. In the last blog post, it said the way to unlock this was going to be to buy a weapon blueprint or a weapon unlock challenge, just like it used to be.
Yeah.
Like it has been.
I mean, it's the same thing now. Yeah, there's an unlock.
So
there's a way to unlock a gun in multiplayer, and there's a different way to do it in Warzone.
Yes, exactly. Well, they're the same way.
Is it usually?
But it's still...
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like if you need 15 headshots, you can do it in multiplayer.
Yeah, you do it in either mode, yeah.
Yeah. So what this sounds like is like, in addition to those two things, there's a third way to unlock it if you want, which is by playing DMZ. That's the impression I'm getting. Otherwise, they're contradicting themselves. So it's one of those.
Well, and it's also...
And it makes no sense, like you said. Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense any way you look at it, because if it's true that this is the only way you get it, dumb, because that's forcing people to play DMZ that don't want to, that want to just play multiplayer, so that's terrible. And two, they're saying like, oh, it's the ultimate reward. So if you can get this through multiplayer, then it's not an ultimate reward, because I can go unlock it in multiplayer, so it's not much of a reward at all. So either way, this doesn't make any sense. Yeah, Classic correct. Infinity Ward.
Absolutely. So moving on here.
Fuck you, Joe Seacott.
Winning is determined by the player's choices, blah, blah, blah. But ultimately, exfilling from the exclusion zone is your main objective in each match. We'll get into that. Part of DMZ's design is to make every match matter. Anything you get in DMZ that is in your loadie or backpack is lost upon death.
Oh no, not my stack of AR ammo.
Uninsured. Yeah, unless it's in an insured slot. Yeah, like, yeah, let me write that down.
No, not my not my 2 stun grenades, my 60 AR rounds, and my frag grenade I have in my backpack. Not those, no.
Okay. Thank you. So yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Players can be revived by their squad mates even after dying, although it'll take longer than the usual down revive. That's interesting. But if everyone drops, all that precious loot gets dropped too. The only exceptions are insured weapons.
Don't call it precious.
Which are a part of your stash. And then here's how they close it. This is just the beginning. We built a massive living world in Al Mazrah with challenging enemies, a deep mission system, side quests, secrets, and more. As we look to the future, we hope to reward players for exfiltration in new ways as we work towards new uses for cash and items.
Okay.
That's a great sentence.
Yes. The best sentence so far.
It's the only sentence that's mattered so far.
Yes.
Yes. Because right now, there's not enough of an incentive to exfil or get items, which we're going to get into more here.
Yeah.
But that's a promising sentence. Do I believe Infinity Ward? No. I don't think DMZ will ever be good. We'll get into that though. But
if they
mean the sentence, then it could become good. Yeah.
That means an outside type inventory system is what kind of they're hinting at that. As we work towards new uses for cash and items, or those new uses are you can just buy a Juggernaut at the buy station or something.
Right,
too.
yes. But I think they're implying what you first said.
Yeah, and that's something I was going to I'll go over more at the end of the pod, but DMZ could and should change a lot from launch to, let's say, a year from now. Tarkov in 2017 was a vastly, vastly different game than it is now. Unrecognizable, actually. These games do kind of require time for them to make different changes. I mean, I think the Tarkov flea market didn't come in until, I want to say, a couple of years into the game, or maybe that was the whole found and raid system. But there was a lot of changes that came in later that weren't there on launch. So, granted, obviously the game isn't launching as a full game. They are calling it a beta as well. Tarkov's been in beta for 5 years. But that's just kind of how they get around certain things. So hopefully it's a lot different than what it is on launch. That's my main point there.
Which is possible. I might have overstepped when I just
but can you see a
to be good.
COD development studio making that many changes like that? I just can't see like a company like Activision ever doing an actual like player-to-player type flea market.
We will get into it. Yeah. I don't know. But to make the most optimistic argument I can, which is kind of hearkening back to what you just said, think of Warzone on launch and Warzone right now.
Yeah.
They look very fucking different. Not for the better, I would argue. But
just different, yeah.
But it did change a lot. So, DMZ will certainly change an amount. How much? We'll see.
Yeah.
But what I'm mainly afraid of is like DMZ could become good with a lot of work, but the player count is going to be so low that they're not going to have enough incentive to put in the work to reap the reward. And they're just going to kind of like write it off like plunder. That's my concern. And that's what I think is probably most likely to be the case.
They also did also confirm in here that we already saw from the event that it is trios, and they haven't said a player count. They have not said a player count since they said at COD Next it was going to be up to 100 players. We've not heard anything since. They didn't put it in here. The players playing at the event didn't even know. They had no idea how many people were in the lobby. So that could change how the game really plays too.
Sort of. I don't think that matters that much, though. I think if you don't like DMZ because there isn't enough PvP, that means you were never going to like DMZ anyway, and you are just going to play Warzone regardless.
Well, I think that's why it would need to be a lower player count, because you're absolutely right. Like, people that don't want to play in Warzone because they get destroyed in Warzone don't want 100 players on the map. They would have more fun if it was like 10 teams of 3, because there's also a shitload of AI. So I think that's why it does need to be lower, to kind of make it feel different and slower than what Warzone is. So for those people that will like the mode because of that.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So last sentence here. DMZ does not set out to replicate, and we can't wait to see how it plays in the wild. This is obviously Infinity Ward seething at all the Tarkov comparisons.
Yeah.
And by the way, you guys made a game mode that is obviously extremely heavily inspired by Tarkov. Don't get mad that those comparisons are happening. So that's an interesting statement there. We hope players will share their adventures with us, and as well as feedback about their experiences. This is a lie. Infinity Ward doesn't care about your feedback. They demonstrated that in spades recently. I mean, we all said,
True.
oh, we want a traditional minimap. And they made a blog post explicitly stating, hey, thanks for the feedback on the minimap. Don't care, though. We're not changing it.
Yeah.
So, cool. Okay, cool. Well, then you don't care about our feedback, so I'm done giving it to you. See you in Al-Mazrah. Okay, so that's the blog post. I learned nothing from that. Actually, I don't think I learned anything from that. Nothing in that blog post gave me any information I didn't already get from just watching the event.
Yeah.
That's disappointing. The only thing I got from that was this sentence. As we look to the future, we hope to reward players for exfil in new ways as we work towards new uses for cash and items. That is the only relevant part of that blog post, in my view.
This was a blog post, by the fact they released this on a Saturday, this shows this was not a blog post they had written, that they had planned. This was a blog post they put out to try to do damage control because of the negative feedback everyone was throwing out there because of DMZ. And it's their fault for letting these players play DMZ and not explaining it first. It is absolutely fully their fault. So that's why they scrambled and made a blog post that told us nothing.
Yeah, that seems almost certainly true.
Yeah.
So, another thing that was mentioned somewhere, but not in that blog post, is like when they were hovering over DMZ, there were like tags to it. Squad size 3 was a tag, large map was a tag, and then assimilation was a tag. We were confused by this, and we learned what this meant, which we talked about a little bit on our Thursday episode. Assimilation means you can squad up with other players who you didn't like load in with. We still don't know if that's a mechanical assimilation or you just like talk to each other and agree to not shoot each other.
Yeah.
We still don't know what that means. So anyway.
Welcome to Fresh Ball Fall. It's a season of pumpkin spice and making sure your crotch looks nice. That means sipping cider in a fall breeze and using MANSCAPED products to trim your balls with ease. That's right, today's show is brought to you by MANSCAPED, a company here to make sure that your foliage isn't the only thing shedding its excess leaves. Heck, even Mother Nature knows it's time to lose that excess clutter for fall. Join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping with the code DROPSHOT. Whether you're brand new or already with us at Manscaped, you could use the crown jewel of care for your family jewels, the Platinum Package 4.0. With this glorious package, you can align your entire hygiene routine all in one swoop. Inside the 10-part Platinum package is everything you know and love about the Performance package, plus some shower goodies included to elevate your grooming game to Platinum. Those Platinum camo boys, get them done. The Lawnmower 4.0 body trimmer and Weed Whacker nose and ear hair trimmer feature proprietary advanced skin-safe technology to protect your delicate parts and little tiny holes. Both are waterproof so you can keep scaping as the weather's changing. In addition to shaving, you can now completely upgrade your shower routine with the Ultra Premium Body Wash and Ultra Premium 2-in-1 shampoo and conditioner. You'll have your skin and hair feeling hydrated and smelling fresh. Don't forget to apply their aluminum-free Ultra Premium deodorant. And don't worry, it's not pumpkin spice, not that there's anything wrong with that, but it's a cologne quality fragrance. But we shouldn't save a signature scent for our pits. Use Crop Preserver, Ball Deodorant, and Crop Reviver Ball Toner to make sure your smell is top shelf and not sweaty balls. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts with their Platinum Package 4.0, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag, both specially made to hold your goodies. Get the Platinum Package this fall. These products are guaranteed to be hits for your dangly bits. Go to manscaped.com, get 20% off with the code DROPSHOT. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com when you use our code DROPSHOT. Manscaped, clear out the leaves. It's your tree trunk's time to shine. So here's the first one. This is the legend for the map. It showed there are a lot of icons on this map. I'll tell you what, little overwhelming actually. Icon. So the legend icon shows, exfil locations. It shows all the contracts. There's legends for weapon case and weapon case area. Not sure what the difference would be. I don't know if you have to go to an area first and then maybe it'll reveal the case itself. I don't know. Radiation area, supply drop. So that was one thing that was coming in often. There were planes flying over randomly, dropping shit out of the sky. So I guess all of those are supply drops. Maybe it's other things as well. The map shows the stronghold locations, fortress location, elite fortress. Holy shit. Buy stations, gas stations, as we know, you will have to gas up your cars. Yes, that includes you electric vehicle drivers. The Hummer electric vehicle will require gasoline. Smile. UAV towers, SAM sites, a safe to loot. I believe those are probably going to require a key. I don't know if that's confirmed or not.
The safes require a key. I would imagine safes do not require a key, but they will always be located in rooms that did require a key.
That would make sense, yeah. So you have to unlock a room to an office, or the door to an office, and then has a safe in it. And ammo cache. So there's that one. That's just a little legend. This next one here, this may show some interesting things. So this is when Lupo was looking at his... This is pre-loading into a lobby. This is the screen where you kind of pick your loadout. So it does show the top here, as we talked about. Here's the 3 insured slots. Everyone's going to start with only 1. Complete tier 3 of every faction to get your second insured slot, and then complete tier 5 of any faction to get a 3rd insured slot, meaning you can basically build custom guns, put them in there, and then get them back at a later time. And this does talk about, as we already said, the contraband, which is guns you get in raid. Whatever attachments you leave that raid with are the attachments that are on that gun, and you cannot edit them. And it shows that they're gunsmith unavailable for contraband items. And then the contraband items, it does say weapon permanently lost if left in the DMZ.
Yeah. So this appears to be the stash.
Yeah, it does, huh?
And that is... So it looks like you can't put anything in your contraband stash other than guns. And it's almost certainly the case that you can't put anything but a gun in your insured slots. For the insured slot thing, fine. But in your contraband stash, again, I don't think you can put a really big backpack in your contraband stash. Because there are backpacks that have more slots that are lootable than the default backpack you'll spawn in with. I don't think you could put a big-ass backpack in your contraband stash to save for later when your friend gets online. I don't think you could put a plate vest, which is a really good item, in your contraband stash to save for later when your friend gets on or you want to do the hard mission or whatever. I think all of those things are just on your character or they're not. And then the only thing that goes in your stash is just guns. And this is dog shit. Now, I'm not positive that that's how it works, but that is certainly the impression I get from looking at this stash. And that's another thing that makes this wildly different than Tarkov. Go look at a Tarkov stash, and I tell you what, it's nothing like this. Nothing. It is infinitely more deep. And you can put anything in your Tarkov stash. Like literally anything.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
You can put a screwdriver in there. And it has uses, because you can either sell it, you may need to turn it in for a quest, you may need to barter, build it for a quest.
There is a hideout. Yeah.
There is a hideout. And this does confirm here, by the way, when he's hovered over one of the contraband guns, look at the only 2 options are select it to use in that next raid or destroy. So it's like you can't even sell it and get anything for it. What?
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
And the stash is a max of 20, so you can hold 20 guns in there, which is a good amount of weaponry. But yeah.
Sorta.
Again. Okay. So the contraband stash as of right now is literally just for guns. Just call it the weapons stash, actually.
That's how it looks. We could be wrong, but that's what it looks like. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that will...
We don't know for
maybe
certain.
that will allow you to put, like, satchels
yeah, maybe.
And backpacks in there. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But anyways, moving on to the next one here. This kind of shows some of the missions. So as Lupo is going through these, they were completing them. It's like one of them was use your TAC map and ping a contract phone, and then find a contract phone and download the intel. So most of those from what we saw in the gameplay were like they would go to a stronghold or fortress, have to do something there, fight off a shitload of AI, and then there was like a timer. So it's like as the phone was downloading the intel or something, you have to hold off the AI that pushes you for like 2 or 3 minutes. And then if I'm not mistaken, if you are in that area on the map, you get a notification on the center of your screen, right where the precision airstrike notification is, covering your crosshair, that says like there is a team doing a contract nearby or something. It gives you some sort of notification. I saw it pop up a bunch of times, and then it shows you the reward. So you got a double XP token, cool, and 5,000 XP, cool. That doesn't matter. His next little quest here is find and loot 5 loot caches, and then loot 5 items into your backpack, cool. And you get a contraband M4, which doesn't matter. It's just an M4 with probably shitty attachment that then you can use in another raid. Again, doesn't matter. And then his last one is activate a UAV tower. And that actually gave him explicit canvas. That must be a blueprint. That's a gun blueprint. For sure. That's cool. Yes. That's the only cool reward we see on there is a blueprint for SAB, I don't think it's the SPR. I think that's the SAB sniper rifle. So that is cool. As I said earlier, operator skins and weapon blueprints are the only 2 things I would care about from this mode. So that gives it a small amount of replayability if you really want a weapon blueprint that's actually really cool and rare, and DMZ is the only way to get it. That is something it gives it somewhat worth playing for.
Yeah, it gives it playability. I would say it does not give replayability. So once I get that sucker...
Well, but... I just mean because as you complete missions, you then unlock more missions, which maybe give you better blueprints for better guns that are cooler blueprints. So yeah, possible. That's where their replayability is attempting to come in.
Yeah.
Is through that.
For sure. Yeah.
And here's one of those.
Those are the rewards that are cool. But anyway, go ahead.
This is the next one. This is one of those rewards, by the way. Weapon case. No, wait, this is a weapon case.
This is different.
Yeah, so this is one of the contracts, right?
Yes, correct. So like explicit canvas, which was a blueprint reward for doing one of the missions. From what I understand, that would be, I'm almost positive this is true. It would be the same as you buying a weapon blueprint in the COD store. You now have that weapon blueprint in your gunsmith for multiplayer. And that is almost certainly how this would work as well. So when you complete that mission, you get a weapon blueprint in the same way you are used to getting weapon blueprints. The weapon case thing is different, I think. Maybe. I'm not sure, actually. But weapon case secured. 1 out of 7 rewards earned.
What if these are vaults? Or what if it's closer to something like a weapon vault, where it keeps the look of it as you change the attachment?
Yeah, that would be.
I feel like it would actually just say the like weapon vault earned though instead of weapon case.
I feel like they would have pointed that out though, to be honest. Yeah. So weapon case secured. So when we were going over the legend, there were icons for weapon cases and weapon case areas. So a weapon case secured, he's probably got this because he found a loot box, he got it, and then he successfully exfilled. And then his reward was a random 1 out of 7 weapon blueprints, I think.
I believe,
Caution tape is the name of this. So one question I have is, did he just get a weapon blueprint? So now he has access to that blueprint for Warzone and for multiplayer, like when you buy a bundle? Or did he get that plus literally that weapon in his contraband stash now?
I'm thinking maybe both.
Now. I would think both, and I think that's actually pretty cool. And this is the first example of actually caring about exfilling I've ever seen.
Agreed.
This is one situation in which you'd actually care to exfil.
Yeah.
Which we'll get into. But yeah, that's how I would expect.
This would definitely go into the contraband because the insured slots were only for custom guns that you build. Wasn't it? Pretty sure that's what it was. Is your custom weapons. So
yeah.
So that means you could just lose the next raid, but you have the blueprint anyways.
But you'd still have the blueprint just to use in multiplayer later or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or to build as an insured slot. That's what I'm not sure. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, because if you can just
you
always build guns, why do you even have the contraband?
Well, I think how it works is you have to move. You can move any gun from your contraband stash into an insured slot, and then once it's an insured slot, then you can change the attachments. I don't know if that's true though.
No, because it said
how that works.
It specifically said in that blog post, contraband weapons cannot be edited. Only like your custom gunsmith classes can be edited. So if I can just make custom classes always, but I think that ties into the insured. So I think, let's say you bring in
make custom classes.
Yes, it literally said that in the blog post we just read. It talked about the gunsmith and custom classes.
Yeah, but I think you can only gunsmith guns that were originally in the contraband stash that you moved to your insured slot, and now you can gunsmith.
Let's see. Let's try to look.
The reason I say that is because why would I ever use a contraband gun ever if I could just build whatever gun I want every time I go into a raid?
Okay, let me read through this again. So Call of Duty is about customizing weapons, so we still want you to bring those creations into DMZ, whether it's personal or a weapon blueprint. At first, you'll have one insured weapon slot for any personal loadout or weapon blueprint. Yes, doesn't say contraband. Additional insured weapon slots can be earned by leveling up. For those looking for an alternate... Yeah, those are the 2 slots where you can leave insured weapons. Okay. For those looking for an alternate path to unlocking weapons or traditional XP, should be excited to plan their infills. Acquiring contraband weapon will unlock the base weapon and gunsmith. And that's just saying if you don't already have that gun unlocked. So I'm pretty sure what it means is when your gun is in the insured slot, if then you lose that, then you can't use another custom gun for 10 hours or whatever until that cooldown is over.
Oh, maybe that is what it means. That's the only other way it makes sense. Because otherwise you would literally never use a contraband gun, right?
Exactly. So then as you get more insured slots, then you can use more custom guns. But if you're playing all day long and you lose those 3 insured guns in your first 3 raids, then you're going to have to go to your contraband stash, and those guns you cannot edit. Which means, yes, since this is a blueprint, as I just said in that, you unlock this blueprint and then you could always use something like this. Even if you don't have this gun leveled up at all, you can then use this fully modified weapon case RPK that you got in raid. You could use that as a custom gun and ensure that in another raid.
Yes. Okay. I think that's probably the case. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So then, yeah, okay. I see. So yeah, if you lose your insured slot gun, it's like, okay, well, fuck. Now I can't put anything else in that slot. So now the contraband stash becomes relevant. I'll use a contraband gun. Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay.
But
regardless, this is cool because one of my issues, like here's the first thing I have written down here. You should need to exfil to get a contract completion because otherwise there's no incentive to exfil. So this was one of the issues when we were watching the event that I found. Is it was like, okay, I have three faction missions. I complete them all, and then I die. Okay, well, who cares? What did I lose there? I lost my insured slot weapon that I won't get back for 10 hours, so now I have to use a contraband weapon. Okay, let's say I didn't go in with an insured weapon. Well, then in that case, what did I lose? I lost whatever I looted in that match. But the only things you can take out of a match are weapons and a plate carrier. So that's not a big deal at all. And contraband weapons are abundant. So I have more. So it doesn't matter. Therefore, there is no reason to exfil. You should require, if you complete a contract, but then you die, if you complete a faction mission and then die, that faction mission should automatically fail. You should have to do it again. One of the requirements to complete literally any faction mission, in my opinion, is you exfil. Because that provides way more incentive to exfil. Because without that, there is very little incentive to exfil. It doesn't matter. You can't loot like in Tarkov. I could loot a GPU. I really have an incentive to exfil now. Yeah. Because if I die, that GPU is gone, or if I put it in my secure container, I can't sell it on the flea market anymore, so I'm earning way less money on it. Either way, it's really bad. You really want to exfil when you get like good shit. In DMZ, there is no really good shit you can get that gives you an incentive to exfil. That was my original contention. However, the one outlier is a weapon case. If I loot a weapon case, that's the one thing that really does give me a strong incentive to exfil. Because it's like, oh, fuck, dude. I can get one of like 7 cool weapon blueprints. I really want to get out now that we got this weapon case.
Yeah, just that's more
There
rare.
is a strong incentive to exfil. So that's really good. On the flip side, though, this is the only strong incentive I have seen yet in DMZ to actually exfil rather than dying and not caring at all.
Yeah.
So it's cool that there's one, but there
I'm gonna
need
take
to be
it
more.
one step further, and the contracts even you do in the raid, like go here and loot 5 items. I think you should also have to extract for those as well. I think you should have to extract for anything. Otherwise, it's so meaningless, and there's that alone right there would add so much to, make it kind of scary to play and be like, oh shit, I don't want to die. So it's like you could, if you're having trouble and you die 3 raids in a row trying to do the most basic bullshit contract or, mission, then that's going to make you play a lot differently. You're going to be like, all right, let's like regain, let's go and get this one done and get straight to extract, no messing around, not trying to fight people, etc. Instead of just it not matter, like, oh, okay, already did that, already got that, let's just, I don't know, let's just go start heading towards the extract, I guess. Like, it doesn't give you like that factor of like worrying about anything. Like in Tarkov, like you're saying, when you get something like a LEDX and you like want that 1,000,000 rubles, you're like, we need to stop looting and get me the fuck out of this raid now. I need this. I'm broke. Let's get out of the raid. Help me so I can survive and get out. But this is just like, doesn't matter. I already got the contract done. Don't need to escape.
Right.
So I don't know.
And yeah, and the same with the faction missions too. It's like, okay, we did the faction mission. If I die right now, I don't care. I can now pick up 3 new faction missions. I've progressed even though I've failed.
Yeah, and it's not like detrimental like Tarkov, because you're still not losing a bunch of stuff if you die. It's like, oh, you just have to queue again and then try to redo the mission or contract.
Exactly.
It's not like you're not losing a bunch of stuff. Yeah.
Tarkov.
I agree.
Yeah,
Still be very casual.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. This would provide some risk, and it would still be sufficiently casual for Call of Duty players, in my opinion. I think that's the point we're both making here, and I agree. Yeah. So the weapon cases is cool, though. I like that. That does provide an incentive to exfil, and risk as well, which is cool. That's good. There needs to be more of that, though, like we just went over. So some of you are already seething that we're comparing this game to Tarkov. Infinity Ward was also seething that we're comparing this game to Tarkov. Here's why we're comparing it to Tarkov. Because if you make an extraction-based game mode that is very clearly and obviously trying to emulate Tarkov, there is a reason that Tarkov is successful. And if you are not meeting any of those important reasons for why Tarkov is so popular and successful, your game mode's just not going to be fun. So when we're comparing it to Tarkov and saying, because it's not like Tarkov, this game mode won't be fun, what we're really saying is Tarkov did this style of game correctly in this way. So if DMZ doesn't also do this, then DMZ is not going to be fun because it's not going to be doing an extraction mode correctly to be fun. So it's not like I'm saying the only reason this is bad is because it's not like Tarkov. I don't want this to be a Tarkov clone. I don't expect it to be a Tarkov clone. There's no world in which I am dumb enough to assume this was going to be even remotely similar to Tarkov in many ways. So I'm expecting that, and that's fine. The mode can still be really fun, really engaging, and have aspects similar to Tarkov without being nearly as hardcore and without being a Tarkov clone that would make it fun and engaging, and I think has failed to meet even those expectations. So when we're comparing it to Tarkov again, if it falls short of Tarkov, that is not bad in and of itself. But there are certain ways where it is bad and it needs to emulate Tarkov, otherwise it's not fun. We'll get more into that. But those comparisons are going to continue because that is the best point of comparison. So here's another one. Weapon durability. So one thing about Tarkov is you have guns, and there is AI in Tarkov, and you can kill the AI and take their guns and use them. So we saw this happen in DMZ. People loaded in, they killed some Alcatala bot. They took the Alcatala bot's gun, AK-74U with a red dot on it, and it was a solid gun that they could use and would do well with, right? In Tarkov, that is not an option because there's something called weapon durability. The more you like fire your gun, the less durability you have. If a weapon is low durability, it will be less accurate. Its MOA will be worse. And from my time in the Corps, I know what MOA means. I won't go into it here, but just know that where you're aiming is not where your bullet is going to go. And it'll jam a lot. So like your gun will just stop shooting. The bullet will jam in the chamber or whatever, misfeed. And that's obviously not good. So those guns that you can loot off of the AI in Tarkov are virtually unusable. That means that you don't have the option to just load in and pick up some random gun off of a bot and then you're chilling. You can't do that in Tarkov. And what that means is there's a strong incentive to not die and not lose your gun, because if you do, you're not going to have access to any usable guns, and that's a big deal. In this game, that downside does not exist. If I loot a gun off of a bot in DMZ, it's going to function perfectly fine, and you could easily frag out with it. Now, am I advocating for a weapon durability system in DMZ? Absolutely not. That's way too fucking hardcore. It's way too aggressive. It wouldn't make sense. But on the other hand, it is kind of silly that the contraband stash seems just completely irrelevant to me. It seems like you actually barely need it, because all you need to do is load into DMZ and just run around and find any gun, and then you're on an even playing field with virtually every other player.
I think the thing was, I think most
it makes
AI,
the risk of losing weapons like non-existent, basically.
I think the thing is, like, standard AI just have like iron sight guns with no attachments. I think that's what it is. And then I'm pretty sure it's like as you kill AI in strongholds or, bosses or the armored AI, those are the ones that are going to have the weapon attachments on them, which then those are going to be the ones you're going to be like, oh, okay, I'll take this gun and put it in my contraband to maybe use later. So I think that's kind of how they do the system, is like a lot of, I feel like the shit unarmored AI just have like iron sight trash guns that are going to have bad velocity and everything. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really care about this aspect at all, or didn't really expect that. Anything like that. So
okay,
I think it's fine.
Interesting.
Because they're going to be just shit guns anyways. You're going to want guns with attachments on them.
Yeah, sure. I just wish there was more of a penalty. This is going to be a through line for this whole episode. I wish there was more of a penalty to dying. And weapon durability is one such mechanic in Tarkov that adds to that penalty. But here's another thing here, and this is going to be another through line. Another thing that like Tarkov has, it has a hideout where you can loot a screwdriver and you can upgrade your workbench so that you can craft guns, for example, or ammo. And so there's a reason to loot nuts and bolts and screwdrivers.
Yeah, like specific random items. There's a reason to loot those over another.
Correct. And in this game mode, they have things like that. They have screwdrivers, they have documents, they have bandages. But literally, the only thing that these do is provide you with cash to use at buy stations in the match to buy things. Like buy teammates back or something. That is one of the main things that Tarkov has that this game just doesn't, is that there is an out of raid progression system that incentivizes you to load into a new raid. And the only thing that this game has, DMZ, that it provides a sense of progression, since there is no hideout and there are no like traders, is the missions. And maybe the rewards are worth it at the top end, but then once you're done with the missions, there's like nothing else to do, you know? So I think expecting a hideout is actually reasonable, and that would give this game mode a lot of depth and replayability that it currently doesn't have, and it would provide a use for all of the random shit items that currently are just different denominations of bills.
Yeah.
If you find a bandage, it's a $250 bill.
That's all. It's just put money on the ground at that point, which also then kind of makes you wonder, well, maybe their long-term plan is something very different, and that's the reason it is what it is. Or it's just their plan for trying to make it seem like it's like a looter shooter when it's actually not, because it's stacks of money. Every item is a stack of money sitting on the ground.
Exactly.
Just, just pretending it's something else. And the other thing that's weird about that with the items is in single player, the alone mission, you can craft a bunch of things. So you get glass, metal, all sorts of shit, and you can craft it. At least from what we saw, no one figured out, not a single person ever crafted anything. So was that really added into single player and there's no other crafting aspect to the game? Why would you design all that and just have it in one single player mission and then not even put it in like DMZ? It
is weird.
No sense. Huh?
It makes more sense for crafting to be in DMZ than in the fucking campaign.
Makes way more sense, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what we were talking about. Like, oh, this is cool. Like, you can craft, what was the thing called to like open up doors, basically? Like, you could craft a little, it's not like a pick.
What was that thing called? It's like a shiv.
It was like a little pry bar, basically. To like open up doors.
That's what it was called.
That would have been cool even then maybe that is in the game, we just haven't seen it. It's like if you can't find a key, then you can use certain items. You can find those items, then craft it. But of course, those items aren't going to be everywhere. It may be kind of difficult. But if you end up finding something and you can craft a pry bar, then you can go to an area and use that on a door that otherwise has to have a key to open it. But then you can, crack it open because you found certain items. That would give you a reason to keep those items instead of just looking at it like a dollar sign.
Right.
But again, maybe that's later down the line. We'll see that.
That's possible. Yeah, that is possible. Because it is hard to believe they added all of these random items in, and they're literally just different denominations of cash. That's quite literally how they function now. That's all they do, which is weird. But and they said in the blog post, they're looking at more uses for items, so maybe that is what they're going to do. Hopefully it is. And then there's no traders either. This is another thing Tarkov has, is like AI traders out of raid. So you can go to like a vendor basically and sell them shit and buy shit from them. And so for example, if I loot like a nice contraband weapon from a juggernaut in my last raid and I get out with it, but it's a sniper with 5 attachments and it's worth a lot, like in theory, because it has 5 attachments, it's a good sniper or whatever, but I fucking hate sniping and I'm never going to snipe. It would be nice to be able to like sell that and get some cash because I'm never going to use it anyway. But right now, the only options, if that's the case, are to use the gun or destroy it. And then you might say, well, what would be the point of selling it out of raid? Because you can't do anything with cash outside of the raid. Well, yeah, that's another problem, isn't it? That's another big problem. This is, again, going back to, as I said, what was going to be a through line. There's no out of raid progression of any kind except for doing additional missions later on. And like in Tarkov, you have cash and it's literally in your stash outside of raid. And you can get a bunch of cool shit, sell it to other players or sell it to traders, the AI traders, get a lot of cash, and then if you're down tremendously, you can use that cash to buy good gear to take into your next raid. This is a massive part of the progression system that makes Tarkov replayable, and it's a massive part of incentivizing surviving and exfilling and disincentivizing dying. these aspects do not exist in DMZ. There needs to be some kind of economy of some type. You could even create that without being able to sell to other players. If there were simply just AI traders that had some things that they sell, make good shit really expensive, have the capacity to sell items to those traders, and then there would still be an incentive to exfil with a bunch of shit, a bunch of batteries and documents and whatever. And it's not like the cash just evaporates as soon as you leave the raid. And that is something Tanner talked about, a tweet he had found that made this point. He was like, the tweet said roughly, the economy is like the whole fucking point of like an extraction mode. And this just simply doesn't have it at all. Is that an accurate summary of that tweet?
Yeah, I'm trying to find it here real quick.
Go to your liked tweets, buddy.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I can't find it. Maybe I didn't actually like it. Oh, here we go. Extraction shooter where you extract XP LMFAO. This is from I Am Wildcat, by the way, on Twitter. I guess he's a pretty big streamer. How is there no economy? There needs to be an actual incentive for me to extract and not die besides losing a gun that's marginally better than others and an exfil XP bonus. The simplest things can't be done right, referring to Call of Duty developers, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, so there's just, again, comes down to not much of a reason for the mode. If I want to just, play and extract alive, I guess I would just go play Warzone. It's just Warzone with less action and more annoying shit AI,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, moving on here. The scavs are... I'm calling them scavs, I'm sorry. The AI in DMZ are kind of goated with the sauce. They do a lot of damage. They will fuck you up quick. I like this. The AI is fairly dangerous in DMZ. If you're going to have a mode like this, I think that's good. I think it should be risky to go to like a stronghold or an elite fortress. I think that is good. What I don't like, however, is that there are a lot of armored AI, and the armored AI take a lot of fucking bullets to kill.
Yep.
This is dumb. I think you should have some armored AI if you want, but if you're going to, they should have the same amount of health as a player with 2 or 3 plates. Max. Yeah. And then maybe for the Juggernaut, you make an exception. But as it stands...
Don't have Juggernauts at all.
Don't have Juggernauts at all, of course. The regular armored AI absolutely take more bullets to kill than a player with 3 plates does.
Oh,
this is dumb.
100%, yeah.
This is obviously dumb.
Yep. Kind of just ruins the immersion. This is something we had talked about from the single player alone. I had brought this up. I said it's so annoying and unfun fighting the armored AI because you sit there, you pop 20 bullets into them, their helmet pops off, and they're standing there doing like they're all like disoriented as you're still shooting them, and their character model is still like doing this little disoriented like fucking... They're all waving around, basically. And then you just continue to put more bullets in them and they die. It's just not fun or entertaining at all to fight against. And unfortunately, boy, seems like there was more armored AI on the map than non-armored AI. Yeah, there are normal shit AI. But I think if you ever go to a stronghold or fortress, I don't know if there's any non-armored. Every single one is armored, or they have fucking riot shields, or they're juggernauts. And that's just not fun to fight against over and over again. Like, I'm all for them being difficult too, but COD is just not a game that's like designed where you like can take gunfights. You know, like Tarkov, you can fight the bosses in certain ways. You know, you can peek slowly, kill a guard, move around somewhere else. You can take them out from long range. COD just isn't designed that way. The game is just designed to run at them and kill them. So it makes those fights very boring when they just keep tanking shots and then turn around and aimbot you and kill you in, 5 bullets.
Yeah.
Just totally ruins the immersion, I think.
I agree.
They shouldn't be more difficult to kill than another living player on the map. Yeah,
it's silly. It's silly.
Yeah.
And yeah, like being able to snipe headshot someone and them not die is it's such a wet fart. Like it feels so bad.
Yeah.
If I shoot you in the head with a bolt action sniper rifle, you gotta die. It's so satisfying. And I'm deprived of that. Yeah, you just
Yeah.
gotta you just gotta be unalived. Yeah. But anyway.
Yep. Another thing here, a couple of things like with the in match that I noticed. So you spawn in at a random location instead of like an airplane in Warzone. I don't think I like this. I think I like the idea of DMZ being played how you want to be played. I think everyone should go in a plane and drop wherever they want on the map. I do not think it should be totally random, because there's going to be people spawning right next to the insane strongholds and getting an upper hand on capping those right away. There's going to be people that are going to spawn right next to an exfil that can then just sit there and camp it and wait for someone to come up. I think you should choose where you go, and I think Warzone does that correctly. And if anything, this is a mode that should allow you to do that instead of it just being random and RMG. That is how Tarkov works. It works in Tarkov. I don't think I like the idea for this game, though.
I think the only reason you wouldn't want to do that is if, if one squad really just wants to do missions and avoid other players, and then there's another squad that's just hunting players.
Yeah.
And they just are like waiting for some squad to jump, and they just stay on them and shoot them out of this plane. It's like, dude, I had an armor vest this time. I just got my insurance back, and I died out of the air to Biffle, like griefing, basically. I'm just trying to do missions. I think that's why they didn't want to do this.
I could see that being an issue if it's like a Warzone lobby player size, like 100 plus, like they had talked about. But if a lobby is like 30 players, I think that would work really well. Then you can kind of see, because I feel like people aren't just usually going to fight off rip in that case. People that want to play like that and fight off rip are going to be playing Warzone, I think, anyways, not loading into DMZ. So I don't think they would all of a sudden just, just start fighting people off the rip. I don't know. I feel like people that are going to want to play DMZ, or it's a different type of player anyways, so that wouldn't be an issue. But I don't know.
Yeah.
I just thought that was weird. And it's like, we watched Symphony for like 3 raids, and 2 of the 3 raids, he got the exact same spawn. I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
How many spawns are there, man?
I know, that's a good question.
That was weird.
Yeah, I don't think this is the biggest deal. I see your point, though. But another, a way we could kind of get the best of both worlds potentially is that each squad has their own plane, so it'd be way harder to just
you're all in your own like helicopter
people.
or something.
Yeah.
And
they've done that for
it was
an LTM. I think there were a ton of planes and everyone dropped from a different one.
It was leaked recently that supposedly you chose where you spawned in DMZ.
Interesting.
But maybe it was just this. They saw that you were just immediately spawning in and they thought you were choosing it, but really it's just, instead of dropping out of the plane, you don't choose at all and it's random. Or the build they played is not the build we're going to see on launch and you will get to choose. I don't know. That wouldn't work either, though, because it's like, then what if a bunch of people want to spawn in the same area? That doesn't make sense at all.
Yeah.
Unless there's like a cap on how many people. I just can't see that being the case. But anyways, I thought that was weird. Another thing I noticed right away that was weird, there are no squad sizes listed anywhere on the UI and no player numbers listed. So you don't know how many people are alive, how many people left the raid, how many teams there are. I don't necessarily care about that. I just thought it was a little odd to see. I would have liked to see just to know how many players are in the match more than anything. But I don't know. Maybe that is better, actually, because then you don't know how many people have already extracted or whatnot and left the game. I'm not sure how I feel about this, but just when we first started watching this, I'd written down this note because I was like, that's fucking weird. I don't even know how many players are in the map. And that's why none of the streamers had any clue. They're like, we don't know how many people are in the lobby. We have no clue what the max size is.
I kind of like it not showing, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's kind of how I'm leaning, actually.
I want to know how many players are in my lobby at the start.
Yeah.
But like in the match, I don't think I do want to know. Because it would be possible where it's like, okay, I'm just going to wait till that number is just us 3, and then we can just walk to the exit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is a good point.
So I'm fine with that. But I do want to know what the max lobby size is, and I want to know how many are in my lobby before we load in.
Yeah, hopefully it'll say that.
I'll be right back, but you can keep going.
Well, a lot of this now we've already talked about. We already talked about the downed mechanic, how you can revive. You can purchase teammates back in DMZ. That was something when we first started watching as well. We weren't sure of like, okay, so someone got downed, they got full killed. Are they going to be able to play at all? Yeah, you can go to a buy station and buy them back. I didn't notice how much money it was or anything. It's probably, 4 bandages or something, basically, 4 cash. So I didn't love that idea at first, but then it is COD. If you die off rip and then can't respawn, yeah, people aren't going to like that. Especially with how Warzone has been now. People are so used to just always coming back, so I don't think that would be a good mechanic. If you were just dead and, dead the rest of the game. So overall, I think this is fine.
Yeah, I agree. So the down mechanic is like, this is one of the things where this is wildly different than Tarkov, and I'm okay with it. There was absolutely a way to make this game mode really fun, really cool, really interesting, really replayable. And not having a down mechanic would, having a down mechanic would not detract from that. So I think there was a way to do DMZ really well and emulate certain aspects of Tarkov that make it really fun. And keeping a down mechanic in would have been fine in that case. Like, there's a world where there's a down mechanic and it's still a really fun and engaging game mode with high risk. I'm fine with the down mechanic. I think this is one of the things that would make this more casual than Tarkov, as we would expect and want it to be, frankly. That would be okay. So like, not caring about not being able to lose your insured weapon in any case is an example of something that's too casual. Like, this is too little risk. Being able to complete missions and then die anyway, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This is too casual. This is too little risk. Having a down mechanic is casual, but it's not too casual, and it's not too little of risk. This is fine to keep in the game, and I would expect it for Call of Duty, frankly. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I think people may be missing that point a little bit too, because they say, like, they don't want it to be too hard for casuals, but it's like, a lot of Tarkov players are what you would kind of consider like a COD casual. Like, they're not good at the game. They like it because of the risk factor. And this doesn't have that. So, like, even for the more, quote, casual players, I just don't see how this can be exciting long term when, like, just dying at this point seems to matter so little.
Exactly.
It's a meaningless mode when they can go, go play multiplayer or something, level up their guns faster. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, moving on. Armor plate vest. We already talked about that. Yeah, I'd already written down, why do AI tank more than players? That was very annoying to watch them fight.
Yeah,
that's the other
insane.
thing. Is like, if you're playing alone, so they tell you can queue solo trio if you want. That'd be insanity. How would you ever clear a stronghold? You literally don't have enough ammo to even kill all the armored AI to clear. It's not possible. Like, you have to play with the squad for this mode because of that fact. Unless every single slot in your inventory is also full of ammo. If you're using like an SMG fighting an armored AI at 20, 25 meters, I'm not kidding. If you have like an MP7, it's going to take all 40 bullets by the time you miss them to kill that armored AI. That's like, cool, that's one magazine gone.
Yeah.
That's not fun to fight against.
I agree.
I would rather them be like a better shot and aggro further away and be more, there's a better chance of you dying to them than then just standing there and tanking a bunch of bullets. That's how I would rather have them be balanced. I'd rather still have them die in like 5 or 6 shots, but just also be more deadly towards you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's silly. And it's immersion breaking too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's also just, it's a lot of time. Like, you're spending a lot of time in there, and it's not very fun, I don't know. I'm with you though. It's cringe for sure, but I don't have much more to add on that.
Yeah. This next one here is kind of something I think we already noticed this at COD Next, didn't we? There is a large backpack that has a dedicated weapon slot.
This is interesting.
Meaning this will be in Warzone and DMZ. So basically you have the 2 guns on your main character, and then you can also throw a 3rd gun in the backpack. So for DMZ, you find a cool sniper or something, but you don't want to put that on your main character because you already have a sniper and an AR. If you find that big backpack, throw that bitch in the backpack. You can extract with that gun. Same thing for Warzone, we're assuming, is you can keep a gun in there. Maybe you can run an AR and SMG, and then in your backpack you have a sniper. You can't just immediately swap to it. I don't know how it would work. I guess You must have to drop a gun on the ground or something first, unless you can just drag it straight to your backpack and swap it.
I think what you do, I think I saw someone do it, is so you have the 2 weapons on your like character inventory, which is, yeah, you can hold 2 weapons at a time. You have one in your hands, one on your sling or whatever. And then you open your backpack. If you have the large backpack with a weapon in the large backpack's dedicated weapon slot, you hover over it and there's a button that says like equip or use or whatever. And then it will equip it and swap it with whatever's in your hands at the time. And then whatever was in your hands goes into the backpack in that slot. And now you have what was originally in your backpack in that dedicated weapon slot. So now if you swap weapons, it'll be going from whatever has been on your back this whole time to the new gun you have equipped, which is cool. That seems to be how you'd want to do it. You wouldn't want to be able to swap between all 3 weapons. I think that would be, I would just not like that at all in a Call of Duty game. And I think it could arguably be overpowered. So I actually like that you can only have 2 like equipped, but you can carry a 3rd around. And I think, yeah, for DMZ, I don't care very much about this. But the implications for Warzone are super interesting, because if you are someone who really likes to snipe, for example, but every time you play a game, you find that on average, you find a large backpack 90% of the time, you might go from having a sniper and a sniper support AR, which is usable up close and usable medium, but not optimal for either, and say, fuck it. I'm going to find a large backpack. I'm going to go sniper SMG this game, count on finding a large backpack, and then I'm going to put a good proper AR that's built for long range and medium range in that slot when I get it. And then as endgame gets nearer and nearer, I'm just going to swap my sniper for that long range AR. And now I have my goated meta SMG plus a AR. So I've gotten the benefit of using a sniper early and mid game to help me reach this point. And now that I'm in end game, I don't have the downside of being handicapped by virtually only having one usable weapon in some cases. If the final circle's in a bunch of buildings, for example, your sniper is basically useless.
Yeah,
depending on the sniper. But now I won't have to deal with that. I'll be able to switch to an AR. I think that's really fucking cool, actually. And I really like the implications for Warzone by having this backpack. Because again, since it's stowed, it's not like if you're sniping and your AR is in your backpack, you can just like equip it. Like it's still going to be slower and more cumbersome than just pressing weapon swap. So you're still going to have to plan. It's not like super overpowered, but it's really good also. Like I really like the implications of this for Warzone.
Yeah.
And with enough planning and with enough aggression, you can load in with a sniper and not be handicapped in the same way you are by sniping in Warzone 1. You know?
Yeah.
Which is cool. But again, another reason I think it's not overpowered is because if you wanted to do that, you can't just play like a complete rat and an AR just appears in a large backpack. You would have to have a large backpack. You'd have to have found a large backpack, and you would have to have killed another player and looted their meta AR and put it in your backpack. So it's not like you would just automatically be done with the downsides of sniping in Warzone forever. You'd have to like work for it and put in some risk to get there. But then you could, get that payoff. I think it's really cool. I don't know. I really like this idea though.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be interesting and good. Next thing here I noticed. Again, game will play a lot different soon. But most of the PvP that happened in the game was all when someone was extracting.
Yes.
All of it. That's when all of the fighting was happening. There would be numerous teams fighting. Because when you start an extraction, I think they like shoot a flare into the air or something. It also probably tells every fucking person on the map someone's doing an extract in here.
There was definitely a smoke grenade, yeah.
There's a
Like a
lot going
colored
on
smoke.
that tells you that there's an extraction going on. Then you have to wait for it to come in. Then you have to get in the helicopter. Then you have to wait for the helicopter to leave. I don't really know how they fix this system, though. If they want a helicopter to come in, it's like everyone's just going to know. It just seemed like the only PvP was happening at the extraction. And I feel like also, what did they say? Only 6 random extractions every raid? I think it was 6, right?
It didn't seem to be that many, yeah. Something like that. 6 is about
I
right.
feel like you're going to have people just hanging out around the extractions because you know there's going to be someone leaving there like every single time almost. And this is an issue that does happen in Tarkov, not nearly as much as you'd expect. Someone asked that in chat earlier, if Tarkov was super campy. There are extract campers that will sit there and wait with no gear the entire raid, hoping someone use that extract. Once they come, they try to kill you. They're already at the extracts. They grab all your gear and get out real quick and you get nothing. Surprisingly, does not happen nearly as often as you think.
I would say literally like 5%, if that.
It's got to be less than 5. I think this whole wipe,
even less. Yeah,
I got
exactly.
extract camped and died from it 2 times. And
Yeah.
I've probably done 600 raids or something.
Yeah.
So, not that big of an issue, but all of the PvP at this event was like going on around the extraction, it seemed, which I don't know. It's just kind of like, I want the PvP to be spread out. I don't want it to just all be at the end necessarily. I don't know. So I feel like there was a banner that told people in that area someone was extracting there. That's unnecessary. If something's already going up in the air and making like an explosion sound, they don't need anything
Or
like
you see
that.
a fucking helicopter flying in.
Exactly.
Too.
So I don't think it should alert like anyone actually on their screen though that like, oh, someone's gonna be extracting here. And I thought that's how it was. So completely unnecessary. Don't like that aspect of it.
I will say too, though, this was everyone's first time playing DMZ. I think people hopefully are going to learn different hotspots, different things that become popular besides just exfils. And it's very hard to say if it's very hard to extrapolate that because all the PvP was at exfils for the reveal event, that's how it's going to be for everyone at launch a month down the road. It's very likely that it will be because I don't know if there are hotspots on the map. Like, again, in Tarkov, if you play on Interchange, well, okay, imagine it's 2 years ago. If you're playing on Interchange, the hotspot is at Techlight. There's like one particular area where if you go there, get ready to bang. There are other people there.
Yeah.
Oh, is someone at Techlight? The answer is yes. I don't need to have been there. I don't need to have heard anyone there. I don't need to know anything else about this raid other than whether it's offline or not. And I can tell you, yeah, someone's a Techlight and they're ready to fuck your ass. Because that is the hotspot because there's really valuable loot there that you want to take and exit the raid with because there was an economy out of this as a game. Will such hotspots exist in DMZ? Maybe, but I find it kind of unlikely because the reason hotspots exist in Tarkov is because there's valuable loot that everyone wants, so everyone goes there. But there's no such thing as valuable loot in DMZ. So how would you create a hotspot as Infinity Ward? I have no idea. So I think it's very likely that, in fact, extracts will just get camped a lot. Just by people who are bored and want to get some action, or who want to get an armor vest for their next raid or whatever. They can literally just go to one of the exfils, go prone, wait for the helicopter, and you're kind of fucked when you're going for it too. Like one of the exfils I saw, it was a helipad on the ground and there were buildings around it. So like...
Oh, I'm mounting up in a window with an LMG.
Exactly. Let's put the helipad on a roof at least. Like, it's still going to be risky to exfil that way, but like, now it's incredibly risky. It's on the fucking ground with no cover around it, and there are buildings with elevation on you around it. Like, good luck getting out of that if it's getting camped. You're kind of just fucked. There's no option. If you don't know they're there, you're definitely dead. So they're going to have to toy with the extract system, I think, yeah. I think they are very camp prone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Insured slots we already talked about. I don't know. That's mostly everything that I had written down already.
I'm with you.
It's kind of just
this shit up.
It all just comes down to the same thing. Is there's no. I get what people think And I don't exactly have an answer because people are like, well, there's not, you could argue there's not a reason to play Warzone either. And you are right. There's no reason to play Warzone either. But a game mode like this is supposed to have a reason to play it, and that's what it's lacking. Warzone, you play to get kills and you play to win. DMZ, it's like, I'm playing to do what? Find a screwdriver that's worth $500 to then buy a UAV and raid to then pop and then find someone else and then maybe fight one actual player after killing 30 AI and then getting to an extraction so I can extract with the same gun that I brought in. Huh?
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. I think bottom line for me, unfortunately, if no leaker had ever compared this to Tarkov, I would have a much higher opinion already on this mode, and I just don't because of that. So it's my own fault for being an asshole and believing leaks when people were comparing it to Tarkov like a year ago even. Because I'm the asshole, because those people that never played Tarkov don't actually know what it is. They just know, they heard the term extraction shooter, so everyone went with that. And I think that's kind of what already is giving me such a negative opinion for it, is because I wasn't expecting Tarkov, obviously, but I was expecting literally an out-of-raid inventory at the absolute minimum. And to not even have that, this is not, you can't call this an extraction shooter. This is not an extraction shooter at all. Even the Division is more of an extraction shooter because you can pick up dumb shit like fabrics and stuff, which don't really have much meaning, but you can then go to a safe zone and either sell them for money to then upgrade your other gear, or you can use them to craft other things that are you can only get from crafting them from finding those items. Right. So it's like, even that has meaning. This just has nothing. Like you said, just put money on the ground then. So I do think long-term there's a goal there to add something like that, and that's, I think, when the game will become fun. But on launch, I just don't see this being a very entertaining mode to play at all. We're absolutely going to try it, of course. As I said, I almost want to play this before Warzone to see if we were just wrong about everything and if there was stuff missing from this playtest they did. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. Seems like a big snooze fest to me. Just Warzone with way less players on the map and more annoying AI that I don't want to fight.
Exactly. Yeah. So one thing you had said is like, well, there's no reason to play Warzone either. But here's the thing. I think in video games in general, you could broadly categorize a video game into like two different camps. So like one type of game, and this is less and less true as time goes on because every game kind of wants progression. But if you play like fucking Tekken, right? The reason you play that game is because playing the game itself is really fun and engaging. Like you play a fighting game because you enjoy fighting. Like, you enjoy the gameplay aspect of it. The progression out of the fight is immaterial or non-existent, and that's okay because you enjoy playing it itself. And then there are games like, I guess again, Tarkov, where it's like the reason you're playing Tarkov is not for the fun of raiding itself. It is for the game is almost to progress, and then you do raids as like the vector to play the real game, which is progressing your character. Like the real game mode of Tarkov is progressing. It's leveling up, it's getting better gear, it's upgrading your hideout. That's the game actually. And the way you do that is by like doing raids.
Yeah.
You know, that's like almost how you could conceive of that. And you could look at like RPGs in that way too. It's like Dragon Age Origins. Do I enjoy the combat in Dragon Age Origins? Yeah, I do. But the combat is something I do to continue progressing my character, to leveling up, to getting more items, to continuing on the story, to continuing on the plot. And the combat is almost just a side thing I do to play the actual game, which is the progression. But then Warzone is like a game where the point of the game is the game itself. That makes sense. Kind of hard to describe what I'm saying. But the problem with DMZ, so Warzone, when you play the game itself and there is no progression outside of the game, hopefully, and this has been true of Warzone, playing the game itself is fun enough to where that's good enough.
Exactly.
But DMZ, it does not have that. If all DMZ has is playing the mode itself without progression outside of the raid, unlike Warzone, DMZ gameplay itself is not fun enough to be worth playing again. So it needs progression to be worth playing at all, because it doesn't have engaging enough gameplay in and of itself. And I would argue it's not even designed to have engaging enough gameplay in and of itself. And that's okay if you are accomplishing the goal of having progression outside of the gameplay that adds engagement to your gameplay when you're playing it. Tarkov, I would never play if there was no progression. If it was just you got a meta mutant with BP ammo every raid, you load it in automatically with an Ulok, a fucking whatever. What's the meta chest? Gazelle. Fucking Switchblade and a Salua, Golden Balm, all this 8 nades. Every raid you just load in like that, and the only goal of Tarkov was to pick a map and go play and loot shit, which wouldn't matter in that case, and kill other players. That game would be that game wouldn't be played. The servers would be offline. They would make no money. It would be boring as fuck. No one would play it. Because the Tarkov gameplay is fun. But the reason it's fun is because of the out-of-raid progression of Tarkov. The reason a Tarkov gunfight is so fucking fun is because if I die, I'm seething. And if I kill the guy, I'm erect. Because I've just gotten a bunch of gear, I've just made a bunch of money, and it actually matters in that game. You know what's not fun about a Tarkov gunfight? Any of the gameplay mechanics. Hey, is inertia fun? No, it's dog shit. Hey, is desync fun? No, it's fucking awful. It's terrible. No one plays Tarkov because the PvP is fun and engaging. The PvP actually fucking sucks. The only reason it's fun is because there is an out-of-raid experience that imbues the gameplay with meaning and fun. But the only reason the gameplay is fun is because there's something outside of the raid. But DMZ doesn't have that, so you need to make the DMZ gameplay really fun if you're going to do that, which they're never going to do. That's not the point of DMZ. That's the point of Warzone. So ultimately, DMZ is simply lacking the progressive element.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't get that, it will never be fun. And like I said at the very beginning of this episode, my worry is that right now Infinity Ward plans on adding this kind of depth, risk, and progression to the game right now. But when they see in 3 weeks, when the player count for DMZ is less than Plunder has ever been, they're going to say, you know what? Let's cut our losses. Fuck it. We're not spending more development time and resources on this mode. Let's just make some more store bundles. Let's double down on Warzone 2. And we're never going to care about DMZ, and we'll do the bare minimum and just scrape by. And then DMZ never becomes fun after all. That's
but they're not going to do that
serious
because they still updated Spec Ops all throughout MW, even though it had a player base of 6 players.
They did, but they really did do the bare minimum when they updated Spec Ops.
Yeah, that's true, I guess.
You know, that's my concern.
Hopefully their long-term plans with the game are much different than what it is now. So yeah, I have some hope long-term, but I think on launch it's not going to be a very fun experience. And then at that point, why did you release it? I saw some other people talking about this on Twitter too, and
just don't release it.
And I'm in that same boat now. I think it was Iceman Isaac. He was like, "This shit, DMZ needs to be delayed like literally months." He's like, "It's obvious." Let's find what he said actually, because it was a good thing.
And everyone would be fine with it. By the way, we have plenty to do in the meantime.
We have too much to do. We've been talking about this. There's almost too many things to do.
Exactly. Yeah.
So this is from Iceman Isaac. I think DMZ should be delayed. Let Warzone 2 go crazy on November 16th and keep working on DMZ until it's ready. Absolutely agree. Perception at launch is perception forever. Agreed. Delays are better than a dead release. Agreed. Please, there's so much potential here, but there's no depth to this game right now. Agreed. The map is incredible. Blah, blah. AI is challenging, but for what? Right now the game feels pointless. We're looting all game just to extract some XP, no stash, no questline, no marketplace, no in-game economy. Am I missing something? I'm super excited for this game, but it just looks like plunder with AI and extractions. Absolutely agreed. Spot everything he said, perfectly spot on. Absolutely agree with Isaac there. So I'm with him too. Why are we releasing this alongside Warzone? We don't need it. We just got a new multiplayer game 3 weeks ago that I'm still enjoying. We're going to get a brand new Warzone experience. We don't need DMZ right now. Delay this shit until like March and add more features to it, please. It's not worth releasing right now, I don't think. Because that is, the best point he made there was perception at launch is perception forever, for the most part. If it's something negative, that's going to be the way it is.
True. Yeah, he's right. Because people will write it off and never try it again.
Caldera's a great example of that. People just went immediately back to Resurgence. I saw so many people all year long that were like, I didn't like Caldera on launch, never try it again. Rebirth's fun to me. I'm not going back to it.
Yeah, and I think the reason that happens is because if you release DMZ and then you gradually iterate over time and make it better in like little increments, there's no like huge thing that happens where DMZ goes from being unfun to fun. There's not going to be that patch where it's like, oh, we added traders, we added an economy, items matter now, we added a hideout. That's not all going to happen at once where players are like, oh, fuck, I'm going to go try DMZ again. It's going to be like aspects of those one at a time every different season. And there isn't going to be some thing that just pushes everyone back. It's just going to be iterated on. And even if those things all did end up getting added cumulatively after 9 months, there won't be a push ever to get people to go back and try it. And so they won't. So yeah, I think Isaac's absolutely right. And no one would be mad either. It's not like everyone's waiting for DMZ.
Not a single person would be like, God fucking damn it, we're not getting DMZ. If anything, people are like, oh damn, I wanted to try DMZ, but whatever. I got Warzone and I got MW too. I don't even want them to, I was thinking about this morning. I wish Warzone came out next year now. I'm still having fun grinding my guns. I don't want to have to play Warzone on Wednesday. I really don't. I want to continue playing multiplayer. I don't even want to think about Warzone because I'm scarred. Yeah. So please delay it. They're not going to, of course, because it comes out in 5 days, but
yeah.
3 days, 4 days, a number of days.
So there you go. So anyway, that's it. Pigs, hope you enjoyed. Patreon.com/thedropshot, 5 bonus eps a month. Monthly hangouts, which we're doing one tonight for our Damascus patrons, Modern Warfare 2 Customs. It's not too late for you if you still want to come play. Go to the Patreon, sign up for Damascus, link your Patreon and Discord accounts. That'll be tonight, 6 p.m. Pacific time. But once again, this is the best way to support the program. Bonus eps. We do our regular eps like this one. We release them ad-free and early, so you could listen to these earlier than everyone else. It is the best way for you to support the program. And we very much love and appreciate all of our patrons. That is it. Keep your eyes on the Twitter or the Discord for our schedule for next week. It might be a bit odd since we're getting, obviously, season 1. We might be changing up some podcast times. So keep your eyes on the schedule if you want to be here live for the next one. That is all. Thank you for watching and listening. Stay humble.
Stay humble.